Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're calling in from. Today, I'm super excited here for the product-led webinar Wednesdays. We are tackling stuff about product-led growth. My name is Ramli John. I am the director of training here at Product-led. I'm super excited to have here Sagi. He is the CEO and co-founder of Frontegg, and he's going to be talking about the challenges behind PLG and engineering and really eliminating the friction as you so just a few notes. We'll be sharing out the recording right after this, so if you have any questions, we'll share that out as well. But if you do have questions, feel free to type in the comments your questions, and I will ask it to Sagi throughout the presentation. So take it over, Sagi. The floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks a lot. It's great to be here. So I'll be talking about the challenges behind PLG and what's the effect on the engineering team. So we'll be seeing a lot of cool things on how to make things just go much more smoother when you really do this transition to PLG. So let's start a bit about me. Cool. So I've been a full stack developer since I was 15. So that would be like 20 years now. I've been full stack, before it was even called full stack. I managed R&D in startups. I managed high-scale applications in Checkpoint, and actually created a platform. This was kind of product-led and kind of enterprise readiness enablement. Was cool, and been preaching about product-led growth, just like full stack, even before it was called PLG. Yeah, so just talking a lot about the importance of product and how it will become the main factor in the success of a product and business. So I'm a founder of Frontegg, co-founded Frontegg 2 years ago together with my partner Aviad Misraki, and a great team behind it. So today we are 30 people, raised some money, have quite a lot of customers, and developing the next generation user management platform, which was actually designed for the PLG era. Yeah. And I love smoking bits and eating food and going to restaurants. So it's also nice. Throughout the session, feel free to ask me questions. So you can just raise your hand, and I'll answer. And if I'll say that it's something that I'm answering afterwards, I'll just let you know. But don't be shy. So let's start. PLG. PLG is a big buzzword. Let's understand what it actually means for different kind of people. So PLG for the CEO, it's, well, everything that will help us scale the company, right? The CEOs embrace it because it's a buzz, it will help us raise money, and jokes aside, it could be like also a great revenue channel and a go-to-market model. What it is for the CFO, where the CFO, they don't really like this usage-based approach, right? Or at least it makes their job a bit more difficult because, well, how do I count the ARR and the ACV, and how do I present the income? How do we show forecasts? It's complicated for the CFOs. The CMOs, where they usually don't care, since anyway they are supposed to get your name out there, create brand awareness, thought leadership, and it's all about creating the right content, doing the right campaigns, and feeling kind of the top of the funnel anyway, PLG or not. The one thing that is different for the marketing people is that the blaming part is different, right? So if deals don't close, they would usually blame the sales. Now they get to the product people. So product people, be aware of the marketing people now. And last but not least, the CRO. Well, the CRO just sees a lot of different numbers from different people, you know, the usage-based pricing, a lot of people that do not convert, just sign up to see the product and play with it and kind of, okay, how do I create revenue on that? But at the end of the day, like the ABBA song plays, it's money, money, money. Well, that's it. We covered most of the people, right? Most of the main departments in the organization. But, well, we forgot about one persona, about one important department. What about the head of engineering in the company? Well, it doesn't concern the head of engineering. It's all about the business, isn't it? It's marketing, it's sales, it's filling the funnel, you know, play with the product. I don't care, leave me alone, deal with the consequences. Well, not so quite. So it does concern the head of engineering or the engineering department. And actually, what we came to talk about is the huge effect that the transition to PLG, or even companies that start with PLG, kind of feel that's happening and going through their R&D or the engineering department, the product development side of things. So the journey to become product-led growth. So is there even a journey? Aren't we just changing the pricing, removing the get the demo button and opening the sign up? Is there a product journey? Well, yeah, there is. So I think that some of you that went through that motion probably already feel the toll that it's taking on the engineering side of things. Since most of the startup at early days are engineering oriented, product oriented, well, there's a lot of effect on the whole organization. So let's see, what is that journey? You know, we spoke to a lot of startups that made transition, that started product-led from the get-go, and it seems that they had a lot of things they had to do to make it happen. And, you know, as almost with any young organization, most of it falls on the developers. They have to execute the different changes. And let's see what that means. So we'll cover step by step, and feel free to stop me and ask or say, listen, it's, you know, it doesn't belong here or something. So let's start with sign up. The sign up changes. Basically, most of the products that came through the sales orientation, they had get a demo button. But here I'm opening the sign up. Everybody can sign up. You also want to reduce the friction on sign up. So you want to allow sign up through different type of strategies, like social, like connecting to SSO, like passwordless, that is becoming very, very popular these days because it removes a lot of friction on the user. So you have to develop a really strong sign up. A really powerful one. So then, you know, because you don't have the pre-sale part, so what we see, and we'll see examples throughout this session, there's something that's called MQL form, the marketing qualification, that you cannot do with an SDR anymore because there's probably no SDR involved, or is there? But yeah, there's a qualification. You want to know who's the customer, you know, you want to know their role, you want to know what's the company, what's the segment, what's the vertical, how big it is. And the only way to kind of know that right now, if you don't do any sales calls, is asking questions. And there's a thin line there between asking too much questions and you know, just asking enough questions so you'll be able to learn things. Onboarding guides. So, you know, probably there's a lot of companies that are embracing that. And there's a lot of companies that are providing services for onboarding guides. But it's really important that once there's no control over who's the customer, you kind of just throw them into the water. You want to be able to provide them some guides on how to use the product. What's the best practice in embracing the product, and kind of, you know, not let them just get stuck and close the browser. Team management. So, you know, that's the growth part, right? The product-led growth. I always tell you there's the third word there is growth, and you have to enable this growth. And usually the growth will be enabled through the product side of things. So For example, one way to grow is inviting more users. So you have to enable some kind of team management within your product. Technical docs, same like onboarding, but ongoing. You want to be able to provide documentation around how to use the product. Product analytics, it's a back office thing. It's not like customer facing, but you want to provide analytics to the team. So, the engineering team has to develop kind of an infrastructure to enable sending those analytics. Tier selection. So, another part that is customer facing, that is kind of in charge of the growth part, you need to allow them to upgrade their plans. And once they did that, they start to pay. And since paying could be complicated, the billing is not straightforward as before, where you would just pay fixed prices. If you charge by usage-based or some kind of package-based pricing, then the billing would be complicated. You need to allow users to see what they are billed for, even see some prediction estimates on how much they will be billed later. Usage reporting, it's something that is becoming quite popular today, and it's about allowing your customers to see how they use the product. So actually, how many people are using it from their organization, what are the hours of usage, how much API calls they made, and stuff like that. So that's like product analytics, but for the user, for the end customer. Activity logs, it's compliance based, so it will help you grow smoothly, but also people just want to backtrace what they did in the applications, what kind of changes they did, and accept CCPA, GDPR, and other compliance stuff. It also becomes very popular product feature. Some call it audit logs, by the way. Security features. So on the growth part, this is one thing that a lot of organizations are missing. Once you really want to grow, usually there will be a security person within the customer's organization that will have to sign off on actually starting to pay for the product. So when it starts as a shadow IT of a 1 user, 2 users, 3 teams that are using it separately, it's one thing. But once you want to really embrace the product within the organization officially, there will be security sign-off, and then hard questions will be asked. What certifications you have? Can I enable multi-factor authentication? Can I connect my Okta or other SSO provider? Can I set up the security policies? Can I control the devices and revoke devices that are connected and stuff like that? So yeah, it seems, sometimes like, no, it's really far away. But once you really go into these a bit larger organization, want to close the logos, this will be one of the first things you will be asked. Data privacy controls, of course, around, deleting personal data and stuff like that. And of course, other enterprise capabilities, like how do I deploy that on-prem or, really advanced features. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of heavy stuff. And we thought that, the road to PLG is just maybe change the pricing and open the sign up. But no, there's a lot of stuff that will affect the product, and you'll have to deal with them. So actually, yeah, when we kind of start to measure it and estimate how long it will take, we came to this number. 4 years. It was validated with dozens of organizations. That would be 4 engineering years. So it will not actually take 4 years, but it will take 4 engineering years to get it done. So it depends on how much people you put on this target. So 22 months to become really self-serve, 20 months to apply a real usage-based tactics, another 14 months to kind of apply the automation behind it, sending emails as response to stuff, and 35 months for the heavy enterprise capabilities. So you begin bottom up. In larger organizations, it's not like selling bottom up PLG approach to SMBs and mid-market. It's a completely different motion. Sometimes people think that it's the same. I'll just sell PLG and that's it. I'm ready to sell to everybody. Well, that's a lot of time. So we will learn a bit of guidelines that we extracted from a few years that we've been dealing with PLG-oriented products and speaking to a lot of organizations. Both we see our customers that are some of them are PLG or became PLG. We ourselves went through this motion and still going through the motion of becoming really product-led product. And yeah, so we kind of gathered these guidelines, this rule of thumbs, and we would love to hear from you what you think about them. So in short, first of all, you need to explain everything. You need to self-serve everything. You need to track everything, leave no blind spots. And you need to enable security and scale. So these are the four main pillars. And now we'll dive into those, and I will show some examples for some of them. So I picked several examples. I want to just state as a disclaimer that I'm not associated with any of the products that I'm showing these days. These are products that we heard that are great and we were impressed by them, but they're not paying us or anything. So some of them people like them, some of them not. We're using some of them, we're not using some of them, but these are the highlights. So okay, when you say that you want to explain everything, so first of all, onboarding guides. Onboarding guides is something that is very important. We learned that there's a big difference between explaining to the user how this screen looks like, even the most fundamental things, saying here you add a new entity, here you can sort and filter out different entities, here are the insights, and even showing steps on how you should use the product. So some people really don't like it. It reminds them of the wizards that we had back then in Windows 95. But we still get a lot of feedback that people kind of look for it, and sometimes they would like to skip it, but then get back to it later. So that's another thing that is important. Don't just show a one-time onboarding guide because at the beginning, usually a user would just want to get the sense of the application. So they would just hit next, 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 and they should be able to get back to the guides later. Tooltips. Okay, so that's like the onboarding guides, but it's not a guide. It's always there, and I can always kind of hover on top of the important things and understand what's the meaning of them. Documentation, right? So there should be an external portal that kind of documents everything that is happening within my app. Notifications. I should notify people when something happens that is interesting for me, right? So I should be able to just get this notification. I don't need to look for the insights. I should get them. Some send them by email, some put notification bells, some allow integrations connecting to Slack, for example, becoming very, very popular, but it's really important to kind of do this interactive action, the interactive motion with your customers. This way they kind of always feel that you're there and feel the value that they're getting from the product. So on the engineering side of things, you should allow all of those, but as an infrastructure. And what does that mean, allowing it as an infrastructure? Basically, you don't want developers to work really hard on things that are not related specifically to the task that they're currently solving. So when a developer or even a team leader, they get a mission, they want to solve this specific mission in the best way. And they want to solve it, in the most efficient way. They want to do it fast. And, the last thing that they're thinking about is, okay, how do I document it, or how do I notify if something happens there? And even product managers sometimes forget those parts because it's really hard to define those. But the product has to remember those stuff, but for the engineering, for the developer, it has to be really easy and built in the development experience on how they should send those events, how they should document, how they should add tooltips for almost any text that they're adding, and if they're creating new screens, how they are adding the guides for the screens. And the thing here is that you should think that the end user, they don't understand what is happening when they go into your application. They don't understand what was the meaning of the product manager when he designed this page. So that should be the assumption. And under that assumption, you should make sure that you're really being explicit about it. And for developers, it's hard, right? Because there's a statement that good code should be self-explanatory, right? We do not add comments. But with the product, it's not working like that. So with product, you do have to be really explicit around how to use it. I will show you one example, and there are several good examples out there, but I chose one product that really stood out for me, and we'll show the kind of the experience in that product. So this is an application that's called CoScreen that kind of allows you to share screens interactively. Hopefully some of you used it. It's an application that kind of it runs as an app and not online, not on the browser. So you have to enable things. So see how much they are investing in enabling their customers to understand how to do the most basic things, right? They're showing steps of how to enable accessibility and remote control and all of the other things, which is kind of cool. And usually users don't like to do this stuff, but here, for me at least, it was kind of a good experience in enabling all these really heavy technical permissions within my Mac. Cool. So now the app will open. I will choose the speaker and the microphone and join it and start the product tour. Now the product tour is really great. So here they wanted to demonstrate what it's like to use CoScreen with another person. And since when you sign up, it could take some time until another person actually joins. They did some special stuff to kind of show how to interact within this app.
Hi, I am May from CoScreen. Click next and I'll show you how CoScreen works in less than 30 seconds.
So they're actually adding May from CoScreen, and now she's becoming like another user within my team, so I can actually interact with her and see how far they're taking it.
Let me open a window so you can see how to share a window with other users. Move your mouse over the window and click Share Window above it. I will be able to see the window, and only this window, once you've done that. Amazing. I can see your window now. You can share any.
So she actually explicitly explains how I should share a window, what should I click, and it's really great to actually hear it from a real person and not just from guides, which is taking the onboarding guides to the next level for me.
Windows the same way, and I can control it too. Let's play tic-tac-toe.
This product needed to show the differentiator, how it's different from, for example, sharing screens on Zoom or in Slack. And they really wanted to show the interactive part. So they're actually playing tic-tac-toe with me, so I understand what kind of collaboration, what kind of actions I can do with my colleague throughout CoScreen. It's a real game. It's really playing.
Amazing, you beat me. Feel free to restart the game or invite others and collaborate with them on something a little bit more serious. So here are a few examples of how teams are using CoScreen. I'll leave you to it. Happy CoScreening.
And here the onboarding guide ended, and I can see different examples on how I can actually utilize CoScreen, whether I'm a developer or just doing stand-up meetings or interviewing somebody. Yeah, so real cool. Then I can click and just go and check out their explanation. Yeah, so that's really cool, and that's I think that you know, these days you really kind of have to find these new out of the box ways to interact with the customer and get them to the aha moment really fast. And I think that CoScreen really succeeded in doing so. Okay, so the next thing will be tracking everything. So tracking everything has to do, you know, first of all, on the marketing website, we want to make sure that everything is tracked even before the user has signed up, right? So this is kind of the first thing. Then on the sign up, it's really important to understand, you know, what's the friction, how many people will lose when they get to the sign up page. They probably hit some call to action on our marketing page or came through different channels, and we really want to track that. MQL form, as we mentioned, so we should understand who's the user, and typically you would be asked, what's the company size, what's your role in the company, and stuff like that. So that's kind of the SDR qualification, but for the product ad era. And I hear a lot of different opinions about that. And you know, some product people tell me that it's a really bad experience to ask those questions. And some say that, you know, you just have to do that. That's like the necessary evil, because you really should learn and improve on your customer journey. And you know, so I think that there's a balance there, and we will see an example of MQL form and how different companies present it. And another thing is, of course, product analytics and backend analytics. So we will see that there's a difference between tracking the front side of things and the backend side of things. But you know, on the bottom line, you should throw everything, just measure everything, leave no blind spot, throw it to one place, and then you kind of choose how you want to show the data, how you want to notify on the data to your sales team. But the first thing is actually tracking everything. So I'll show an example of an app called Basecamp and how they do that. So I would first sign up to Basecamp. It's a good idea to let the user know how many steps they would be going through, because otherwise it might kind of feel like an endless experience. So here we saw what are the teams that exist in this organization, which is important for Basecamp to learn. And the regular qualification stuff, like, okay, why are you here? What are you doing? What are you gonna do with the product? and a call to action to actually invite another member to the app. So that's starting the growth in the PLG from the get-go, which it could be a good idea. Okay, so this is how Basecamp did it. I can tell you that we're doing the same thing at Frontegg, and we're learning a lot from these answers on who are the users, how different type of users use the product. I think it could be great great way of removing this blind spot of not having the chance to really qualify your users before they start to embrace the product. So from talking to companies, and there's a lot of discussion around product analytics and how to really track everything. But yeah, we kind of gathered some tools that companies use. So first of all, proxy everything through Segment. For APIs, you can connect all of your APIs to a tool called Moisif. And you can connect to your UI to Mixpanel, Amplitude, or any product analytic tool. Usually those tools are around gathering the UI side of things, so the data from the UI, although some of these tools also enable you to kind of ship the backend events over there. We did learn that it's still quite new capabilities, and usually they're not scalable, and it's really expensive to kind of shift a lot of events, big data type of events to these tools. So the raw events, what do we do with them? We send them to Redshift or Looker, so some kind of data lake. And really important thing is that we record usage of customers through stuff like Full Story or Smart Look, which actually allow us to then show how users actually utilize the product, which I think is a very important thing, especially when you're starting out. When you're starting out, you really want to get to the sessions and see where users get stuck, what do they like, what's the typical journey. It's really hard to understand that even through tools like Mixpanel. Sorry, folks from Mixpanel, but yeah, actually viewing these sessions recorded could be a great thing. Of course, these tools allow putting masks on PII and personal identification information, so you don't see names and you don't see emails and stuff like that, but you can see how the user actually use the app, and where did they live, where did they spend some time, maybe they don't understand something that's happening. So very important, especially in early days. The developer logs, right? So capturing the different errors within the product, so we can use Elastic-based tools like logs or Coralogics, or there are a lot of others that are great, and Sentry, which is also great for gathering the errors on the developer side of things. And then you need to visualize the data, the BI. So you would probably want some visualization tool like Zoho, for example, that enables Zoho Analytics, which is the great thing about it is that it can connect to almost any data source, and you can actually create some great visualizations there. Another great thing is that it kind of gathers the data and puts it into SQL tables, so you can perform queries, SQL queries on top of different sources. So you can actually join data from different sources, like joining the closed deals from your HubSpot with the raw events that you gathered from your Redshift, and some predictions or estimates for growth that you have in Google Sheets, and actually bring it into a single table, and then create some graphs and tables on top of this data, which is amazing. Redash, Power BI, Retool, there are a lot of great tools for the visualization part. And I can tell you from my experience that once I actually spend time into creating those visualization, and we invest a lot of effort into creating this BI and measuring stuff, it really made a huge change on the visibility, on tracking different OKRs and KPIs. So, you know, I really suggest doing that. Another thing is self-serve everything. So, you know, we're a big believer in enabling self-service throughout your sign up, through the admin portal for your user. The billing part should be self-serve, and security settings should be self-served as well. So at the end of the day, you should think of it, if it requires a customer ticket, then it requires a feature. So, you know, it's hard to think that way, but users don't like to open tickets anymore. So, you know, it's just a bad experience. I'll give you an example. If a user wants to enable multi-factor authentication within their account, they don't want to open a ticket. They want to do that through their admin portal. Or if they want to just, you know, configure their SSO, their Okta, they want to do it self-serve. They don't want to share metadata files from their Okta with your support team. You know, if a user needs a custom role within the app and read-only and admin won't do for them, they don't want to request that feature and then just wait for somebody to do that. And then, you know, it's just a different standard of an experience, and users want independence. And that happens because there are a lot of product-led growth products these days that are really successful in doing that. You can take example of Monday.com or Slack, HubSpot, Salesforce, Zoom, for example. I think that all of these products were able to create an experience where you almost don't have to request features or open tickets. And this leads to a different standard in the industry. And now people just, you know, that's the standard, that's what they expect. So self-serving everything should be just the baseline of how you create the application. At the end of the day, it will bring a lot of business, because if the experience is, you know, superior than your competitor, customers will count that as a big plus for choosing you. So I'll give you a live example of how it's actually done within one of the products that we use. So this is Notion that you're probably all familiar with, and you can see this is us in Notion. You can see different users. Of course, you can add members, and you know, there's a full team management here. If you upgrade to the enterprise plan, you also get a lot of security stuff, like connecting your SSO, and even more granular thing, like disabling guests and exports and stuff like that. And also a very important feature on user management is invite links. So you actually want to allow people joining your account with a link, and not you know, having to actually send them emails and stuff like that. So that's a great one. I'll reset my link later. Different settings, of course. Billing is self-served, so I can always see how much am I paying to Notion. I can set up my billing details. I can set up security, as mentioned. I can control the integration, and so on and so forth. So this is a bit of self-service. I never had a situation, for example, that I had to call Notion, open tickets for Notion. It's just a great support. And by the way, there are apps like Slack, for example, that also have more granular and advanced controls. So that's a bit about how you self-serve everything. And of course, last but not least, secure and scale. So securing your app once your product is open, so you get much less control over who uses it. And this also opens the gates to kind of attack from different hackers on your product. Most of the PLG apps these days have also API access, so people can generate tokens and then just access different parts with APIs, and that also creates like this vector of attack and denial of service on your product. So you should really be careful with creating a product that can handle scale, that can handle the security parts, rate limiting, and stuff like that. And I will show a short interview with a friend from Datry, and we will see an example of how they went through the transition of becoming product-led growth. Product-led growth product. Yeah. So. Hey, Shimon, my dear friend.
Hey, Sagi, it's great to be here.
So first of all, it's great to have you here with us, and always a pleasure to catch up. In a few words, before we begin the PLG stuff, can you tell us a bit about the tree and your way getting here?
Yeah, so thank you very much for having me, Sagi. I'm Shimon Tolz. I'm the co-founder and CEO of The Tree. We are in the DevOps space, and we help prevent misconfigurations from reaching production in Kubernetes environments. So we have a CLI, and we scan all of the changes that developers make, and we see that they're safe to go into production. And we recently switched to PLG, and in the past 5 months, we were able to reach more than 350 organizations that are using our service in production, and we have more than 5,000 GitHub stars to our project.
Amazing. So my sources didn't lie, and the PLG motion hasn't passed by you. Can you tell me a bit about the move from top-down to the PLG approach?
Absolutely. So we are a company in the DevOps space, developer tools, and we initially started as a top-down company. And actually it went okay. We had customers paying hundreds of thousands of dollars and using the platform, but we just felt that this is not the way that DevOps people want to consume software. They just want to try it and use it, And we really believe in it because we are coming from this background. And then we decided to switch from top down to bottom up. I was actually back then, and we had an office with the sales people and marketing people working really on, the top down funnels. So we unfortunately had to let go all of the people that specialize in go-to-market as a top-down company. We actually had to switch the entire team to people who come from, bottoms-up, self-service, marketing-led organizations. So this was the most predominant thing that we had to do in terms of the company structure. Secondly, we had to change the entire funnel of like the flow of how they use the product. So if we used to have like calls and then get people with POC scope documents and start working with them, all of a sudden, there is no book a demo anymore. There's just a button of get started, you click on it, and you try the product. So we had to build a crystal clear funnel of how do you try and evaluate and use the tree.
It seems like you've been through a lot. So you mentioned a few changes that you had in your marketing website. Now, at the end of the day, as we all know, in the product-led growth, there's the product side, right? And you need to enable the growth within your product. Can you tell me a bit about the effect of the move on your product and the engineering team? So what did you have to develop in your product to make these things happen?
Absolutely. So it really changes the way you think about things, because instead of counting how many meetings you had with companies and so on, all of a sudden you need to have a very clear onboarding process. You need to understand like how can people sign in, which platforms can they use. You need to really make it clear for them to understand what is the path, what is the next call to action they have to do. And for us as an R&D team, all of a sudden you almost don't talk to anyone, so you start relying on data. So you need to record all of the sessions. You need to have different steps in the funnel and identify and understand what are the bottlenecks and how can you reduce friction for users to continue to come and onboard onto your platform.
Great, and I'm sure that things like inviting more users and then managing the onboarding, next steps you mentioned are really crucial. So it seems like the decision to make this move, at the end of the day, it's a business decision, and this is something that is decided probably at the CEO level, maybe even at the board of directors level. But then it has to propagate to the rest of the team, because there's going to be an effect on the engineering team, and I'm sure that this is something that you felt on your organization. Can you tell me a bit of lessons that you learned and that you can share with our audience on how to make this transition more smooth?
Yeah, so we can have 7 hours of talking about this, but the TLDR of it, I guess, is that you have to measure everything. On the one hand, it was really great for our engineering team because all of a sudden it's very much data driven. And you can see everything that happens. You can see how many people come in, how many people churn, how many people continue, how many people become activated. And in terms of R&D, you really need to rely on infrastructure that is self-sufficient and that, everything now is the responsibility of the user. So they need to log in, they need to invite other people, they need to use token systems. You need to now, we switched from a user-based pricing to usage-based pricing. So now we need to count how many policy checks for us. It's like policy checks do they do? How many times did they use the platform? Which types of features do they use? And are they active users? What is an active user? You need to collect a lot of data, and you need to also build dashboards around it in order to be data driven, because there is just no other way. If you're not going to look at it, you're not going to know what happens. And the big effects on R&D is to really build simple things, and it's hard to build simple things. And we really think 7 times before we put something on the dashboard, before we add something to our CLI, because it is really, really crucial to make it clear as possible, because you can't just talk to someone and tell them, hey, just click here. No, they need to.
I'm sure that you started just recently. There are a lot more things to do within the product. So first of all, I'm sure that the whole team is excited about it. Now that they're excited and now that they have a little bit of experience in making this motion happen, what do you see for the near future in terms of product development that will even make things more amazing?
It's interesting when you build it as like top down, you don't really think much about accessibility and the ways that users can log in and use the system. You mainly focus on the core features, and we'll just shove it in there. And here, you really focus on the documentation. You really focus, for example, we want to add more login providers, so you can log in with GitHub and Google and other things. Token management system, how can you use different tokens, user management system. And for us, we always look at it as two main pillars. One pillar is the core pillar of we help prevent misconfigurations from reaching production in Kubernetes workloads. So we have rules and policies, and so we have the core capabilities of which rules do we have, the ability to write custom rules and so on. And then we have the second thing, which is, I call it looking at the pipeline and understanding how can we always reduce the friction and increase awareness and make it easy for the customers to experience the platform and to make it intuitive for them to make the right decision. And it boils down to just looking at the flow and just dumbing it down, giving as much examples as you can, and just helping them through the motion.
Amazing. So, from talking to some founders that did this transition, it always seems that the successful ones are the ones that been able to kind of embrace this change and push it as something that becomes a part of just the way things are moving within the organization. So the R&D teams that knows that anything that they develop needs to be measured, anything that they develop needs to be documented, anything needs to be onboarded, right? So and this is just the way they start to think about developing new capabilities.
Absolutely. Another thing that we did is we actually open sourced our CLI, and we have more than 5,000 stars now. And just amazing, you have so many people like submitting issues and pull requests and contributing code. And by the way, it's also a challenge by itself because you have your own roadmap, but then people start contributing code. And like, what are you going to do? You're going to like ignore them? Of course not. But then it's engineering time that your engineers need to put in to check those pull requests and to make sure this code is good to go into production. So it brings new challenges, but today we have more than 350 organizations using our service in production, and we could have never done this like with the amount of people that we have in the company. We're just under 25 employees, and so many companies using it, so many companies benefiting, and because we did it bottoms up and we build it in a very scalable way, we can onboard more and more and more organizations that use our product, and we're not bottlenecked by salespeople calling it and trying to schedule meetings and sending cold emails and stuff like that.
Amazing. Shimon, it sounds like a great path, and it's a path to success as well. So thanks a lot for joining us. It was very insightful, and we will talk soon for sure.
Thank you very much.
So let's start to summarize, and then also I'll kind of open for some questions that I see are being asked. So what did we have so far? Becoming PLG is not only a buzzword, right? It affects a lot of different departments within your organization, a lot of flows. It's not only a sales and marketing and finance thing. So it's taking a big toll on the R&D, on the engineering and the product departments. And we saw the main guidelines throughout, that we gathered throughout our experience ourselves and with our customers. So, if to summarize, teach the developers on how to teach about the product. Use a single destination to throw all your data to and map it from there. Leave no blind spots. And no hidden configuration. Everything should be self-served. And at the end of the day, you need to build a product that can grow. So I would attend some questions. So we had a question from Maria. And the first one was about the tips of tools that are being used to understand the full user journey. So first of all, we actually gather all the marketing data into HubSpot, and of course use Google Analytics to kind of see, analyze everything that is happening on the marketing side. We also use Google Analytics to on our portal, on our dashboard as well. So this is kind of the usage that we get from there. And then we also described on different tools to get more insights on your product side. So there we, for example, use Mixpanel and kind of doing some cross data with other solutions as well. So there's a lot of backend action that's going on in our case, and we have to kind of throw the data there. And Amit actually touched a really important point here. What about getting app-specific data into a warehouse for your products rather than sending events to a third-party service? So we are also doing that as well. And we have our own warehouse, and it's always a question of build versus buy, whether you want to have your own warehouse or you want to use an out-of-the-box service. And I can tell you that when there's a lot of data involved, there's a lot of a lot of questions about that, and different organizations just choose different approaches. So that's at least from the little survey that we did. Maria also asked, how do you gather feedback from customers? Because when being on a call, you can get immediate feedback from the user, but on the PLG motion, how do you get the feedback to validate that certain features make sense and certain features people just didn't like? So actually, you have to kind of utilize the product analytics tools to understand what features are being used. But don't get me wrong, we're still talking to customers. We have no control, almost no control over who is getting into the website or who's getting into the service and starting to use it. But we do see who are the users that actually embrace the product, and we try to talk to them. We try to understand what they liked about the product and what they didn't like, and gather this feedback. Even users that we have a special view that kind of shows the accounts or users that dropped, that stopped using the product. And we always make sure that we talk to them and get feedbacks on what didn't work for them, why they choose the competitor, for example. So I think it's really important to get this feedback. It usually also, from my experience, will center around main 2 or 3 issues that kind of lead people not to use the product, and the other way around as well. What is the main selling point that makes people embrace the product? Usually it would also come down to 2 or 3 main value capabilities.
Awesome.
So I think that we're done. I'm Sagi. You can ping me at sagi@frontegg.com. And it was great. I'm here for any questions afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I was just going to ask you the best place to reach you, and you provided your email address there if people had any more other questions. Are you also on LinkedIn, Twitter, anywhere else so people can reach out to you?
Yep. You can visit us at Frontegg for SaaS on our Twitter, or Sagi Rodin on my Twitter. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn as well. Feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And for everybody else who are still here, we are doing another webinar Wednesday next week, and we're going to be talking more about product-led sales. And once again, Sagi, thank you so much for this very informative talk. I really do appreciate it. Have a great rest of your evening. It looks like you're at evening, Sagi, right?
Yep, it is.
And for everybody else, wherever you're calling out from, have a good one. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.